Hi everyone! Fuck. Oh god. Welcome to the second episode of Let's Argue, the show where I invite you to send me your hot takes and your tough questions for me to respond to them while I'm going to bed. So let's go! Resident Evil 6 is mechanically the best third-person shooter ever. It only has, in quotation marks, horrible pacing and level design and too many QTEs. Also, and I guess this is a different take, so you're getting two for the price of one. Also, zombies are like the best enemy type ever for a shooter. Slow, don't necessarily die when they're shot in the head, don't use guns, it makes sense for them to be stupid, etc. I haven't played through all of RE6 in a while. I fucked with mercenaries a little bit here and there in recent times. But like, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid on this meme that it's mechanically the best third-person shooter. Gaming Brit is saying that all the time, and I'm just not seeing it. I think the controls are really sloppy. Just the way your characters turn feels very bad. Like, I always say this about Resident Evil, that up to Resident Evil 5, they had this feel to them, every single Resident Evil game, where they felt mathematically precise, the way your characters control. Like, yes, it was tank controls, and yes, it was slow and restrictive, but it was very precise. Like, your character doesn't move like a person. They move more just like a vector in 3D space. Like, they accelerate and stop instantly and stuff, you know? And that makes the games, like, even though they're about horror and atmosphere and all that, it makes them feel so gamey and arcadey and cool, and I love that. And then with 6, they moved away from that hard, right? It was way more about physicality and like enemies reacting sort of realistically to your bullets and stuff. And like, that doesn't have to be bad, but in RE6 it just feels weird. And they threw just every mechanic at a wall, it feels, you know? Without really, I don't know how any of it is supposed to make sense. Like, you have a counter and a stamina bar and a cover system and dodge rolls and a sprint and hand-to-hand combat and you have fucking stun shots. Like, there's nothing that you don't have. Each individual campaign just focuses on completely different kinds of enemies. Like, mechanics, the point I was always trying to make with, for example, the DMC4 video, is that you can't look at mechanics in isolation. And I'm gonna make another video about this. Like, I have plans for it, so I'm not gonna give you a lecture about this here, right? Because I don't want to spoil all my points. But you look at something like the hover nozzle in Sunshine, right? And you think, oh, it's a fun mechanic, right? Oh, you know, raises the skill ceiling, lowers the skill floor, really good, right? But in practice, it means that every gap has to be fucking super wide, you know? So that in isolation, it seems like a good mechanic, but in practice, it's not. And with RE6, it's the same thing. Even in isolation, like, just moving my character and stuff doesn't feel great to me. I think RE2 2019 was a huge step in the right direction again for the series. Like, I mean, I liked RE7 as well, but RE7 had that same thing, where it feels more like the enemies don't, like, they react to you in kind of a physical, weird way, and your character is just a slow dude, and the first person really limits the design, I think. RE2 showed me how much the first person limited the design of RE7. Just, you have no enemies in RE7 that have like crazy movement patterns like they do in 2. Yeah, and like, I mean, that game, it still has, like, RE2 still has kind of this weird sense of realism. But the characters move pretty precisely. So yeah, I think they struck a nice balance with that game. But yeah, and the zombie thing, I mean, again, I think zombies can be very good. I think John Romero made this really interesting point that slower enemies and then with slower controls often is way better and way more engaging than the opposite in a shooter. Yeah, if you just have super fast enemies or hit scan weapons, it just ruins the design. And like, yeah, I'd also say that's why Gears of War, for example, is good, because it has hit scan and it has kind of slow everything, but they built it around that. So yeah, you can't. I don't think you can generally say zombies are the best, but they can be really good. I wouldn't want to have zombies in Vanquish, for example. You know. New Tomb Raider games make the Lara Croft character feel more generic and boring by stressing her vulnerability, while in the old games she was a badass bitch that flew into the jungle to shoot dinosaurs in the face because she simply could, which is stronger and more empowering. Hard agree. Fuck the new Tomb Raider games. Yeah, so, see, in 2013, the reboot and all that, it felt like the right thing at the time, and I can see how it could have been the right thing if it, if the writing supported it, if the writing was actually good, and the pacing and the escalation and all that, but no, it just wasn't there. Like, anyone who's played the game just knows how fucking atrocious a lot of the characters are, how tropey and just cardboard cutout-esque, and that Lara's whole, like, the way she transitions into a fucking ruthless killer is so unnatural and so sudden. Like you see exactly what they're going for, but it's just not pulled off well at all. And like, it's a little bit better in Shadow. I didn't finish Shadow. I didn't play Rise almost at all. But Shadow was way more up my alley. I should probably get back to that game, to be honest. But yeah, fuck the reboot, fuck 2013. And like, if you made a new Tomb Raider now, I think old school Lara, like bad bitch who shoots dinosaurs, that would go over well, I think. I think that would work. I think that's an angle. And like, yeah, bring back the old level design, bring back the puzzles, scale back the combat. I thought the whole idea of, survival on an island, and you're using traps and limited resources and all that, I thought that sounded cool as shit. But then the final game was just bargain bin Uncharted, and bargain bin Metroid Prime. What a fucking bad game. I hate the new Tomb Raider games. Fuck new Tomb Raider. The popularity of Dark Souls has forced FromSoft / their peers into a recidivist design philosophy where each attempt at making something ostensibly new is mostly the same game but worse. Cool experiments of combat design that created something eclectic, God Hand or Kingdom Hearts, are pretty much dead. I mean, again, those are two different takes, but I very much agree on both. Honestly, there's not much to add. Like, I saw a tweet recently from one of my mutuals that was like, yeah, the only reason they haven't remastered God Hand yet is because Capcom haven't figured out how to do the normie controls, right? Like, how to get rid of the tank controls so the normies can play it. And that, like, those kinds of things are just anything that strays from the norm, anything that's even kind of slightly weird is rejected so hard, especially now. And I mean, it's always been like that with games. It's not even just a new trend. It's worse now than it used to be. But like, I remember, for example, when Sakurai talked about making Smash Brothers, and how people were like, yeah, the percentage is such a dumb idea, and what even is this, and I don't understand how to play this. That seems crazy to us now, that people respond in that way. But that was totally real. So you can relate this to any game design thing, game design question these days. But like, I can see how it's especially prevalent with third-person action combat melee games. I mean, just look at reactions to DMC5 when the demo came out. Like, oh, where's the dodge button, dude? And that, like, those are very basic things. Like, people throwing a fit because there's no dodge button, Imagine they made God Hand now, how people would react. God. And yeah, I don't really have anything to say about FromSoftware. Like, with Sekiro, it's just so disappointing that we have these really obvious, terrible things about it, like the camera, right? And they're never gonna fix it. Because, like, people are just used to playing games that way now. With this shitty lock-on. Classic Sonic games are all bad, and the only people who like them are the people who already played them as kids. I find Sonic Mania extremely okay, but it annoys me in the same ways that 1, 2, and 3 did. I get this is hyperbole, right? But the first part is already wrong, because I didn't play the Sonic games as a kid, and I think 2 is fucking amazing. I think it's 10 out of 10. See, the thing about Sonic is that the way it's designed is very unintuitive. You have to open up your mind to it. You have to be okay with the idea that, like... So, I mean, the common criticism is, like, blah, I can't see what's coming ahead when I'm so fast, right? And that defeats the whole point of the game. And, like, I guess the game is just about memorization then, right? Like, no, it's not. The point of Sonic, to me, is, like, using your intuition and using your instincts to make split-second choices. Like, to me, that's exhilarating. The level design is so open-ended, but, like, it's not about exploration. It's not about going down every branching path. It's about just finding the one that works for you. Obviously, this has been discussed to death, right? That there's each individual level has sort of 3 main branches, and the higher you are, the better you are, essentially. The higher on the y-axis, I mean. And that's one way that the game lets you make mistakes, right? When you fuck up, you go down to the lower branch. But then, yeah, the game's full of those little things, right? I mean, the whole ring system that's so central to Sonic is designed so that you can make mistakes, right? They don't want you to memorize the levels. They just want you to go with the flow and, like, have this dynamic back and forth of, oh, okay, I fucked up here, but I can turn it into this, you know? I can use the momentum I have to go somewhere else. To me, that is Sonic. And Sonic 2, to me, does that the best. Sonic CD and Mania do it really well as well. Sonic 1 is kind of cool, but it has some really weird levels. But yeah, even Sonic 1, you can see how the design is really smart, because... What the fuck am I doing? Because you'll have, like, big lava pits that the game wants you to cross with, like, cubes and shit. Like, you get on the cube and then you sort of slowly swim over without getting hurt. But because of the ring system, you can just let yourself get hit and jump in the lava and stuff. And that's kind of cool. So, no, hard disagree. I will say, I think Sonic 3 is pretty lame, because it is more gimmick focused, it is more of a traditional platformer. But yeah, I don't agree. Like, that's it's so easy to convince yourself that Sonic is bad. I used to be a Sonic hater, but then I played 2 and I saw the light. So yeah. Don't know if you've played Ace Attorney, but the Ace Attorney series just took an absolute nosedive in quality, with Duel of Destinies and Spirit of Justice was even worse, with an absolute lack of regard for character. But if you haven't, then Part 6 is easily the worst Jojo part. So I only played Ace Attorney 1, so I can't really comment on this. I know that Shu Takumi, that's how you say the name, right? The last Ace Attorney game that he was involved with was Apollo Justice, right? And that game already was a huge heel turn for many fans. I think a lot of fans already didn't like that one. Again, I played, like, the first case of Apollo Justice, like, randomly, and I thought it was fucking awesome. Like, I played it at a friend's house, and that was my first exposure, really, to Ace Attorney, and I thought it was so cool. Like, I mean, the Hobo Phoenix and all that, like, that, like, and that's, see, here I'm gonna explain my take. My impression is that fans didn't like it, not because it was actually bad, but because it was such a fucking, what's the word? Because it was such a fucking slap in the face for fans. Hobo Phoenix and all that. It was... I get the sense it's like an MGS2 Raiden thing, you know? It's like that. Again, maybe I'm completely off base here. I'm speaking out of turn, because, again, I haven't played it. But yes, I can totally see that now with the last 2 games with, like, different writers and directors and all that they're not as good. I do think people need to cut them some slack for the visuals. I think the 3D style works pretty well. I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, Part 6 is easily the worst JoJo part. I don't know. I wouldn't like, so I don't like saying the worst, because that, I mean, it inherently implies that it's bad, right? I like saying the weakest, maybe, because that way you're still saying, well, they're all good, but like this one is the least good. I don't think any of them are bad. I think part 6 has, I haven't finished 7 yet. 7 is amazing, and I haven't read 8 at all. But yeah, of the Jojo parts that I've experienced, 6 is the one, well, no, actually, I mean, Stardust Crusaders was the same way. It had just periods where I didn't care about it at all. And that kind of bored me, and I was just kind of wondering where the hell this is going. But then 6 pulls it together with this fucking masterpiece of an ending. God damn, dude. Like, the concepts presented in Stone Ocean are so interesting, and so out there, and so meaningful, and so thoughtful. And like, part 1, for example, like, it's a fine watch, but it doesn't have really anything going on, you know? It doesn't really have anything, like, it's engaging, it's fun, but you're not gonna think about it, you know? It doesn't have any deeper concepts or themes. And to me, that outweighs any and all, just maybe spots of boredom and all that, you know? And that's why, like, part 6 has grown on me a lot. You know, it grew on me a lot after I finished it. And Jolene is like the best Jojo, so don't at me. Gyro and motion control is better than mouse and keyboard for third and first person games. You know, I'll actually humor you a bit and say that, like, keyboards weren't made for video games. I mean, we have keyboards now that are made for video games, gaming keyboards. But like, the whole, like, an analog stick just has so much more nuance than WASD. And if you want WASD, if you want the digital precision of that, you have the D-pad. And then when you add gyro on top of that, so it gives you like the full precision of wrist movement, you know, that you also have with the mouse. Like, you can kind of see how this argument may have some merit. I mean, personally, I'm not a keyboard and mouse guy at all. So I do prefer, I really like gyro, and I wish more games adopted it, especially like on the PS4. You know, it's like, are there any games on PS4 where that's an option? Like multi-platform games? Or even like something like Uncharted. Like, why does that not use gyro? That's so weird to me. And then trying to use the DualShock 4 on PC, for some reason the gyro doesn't work properly, in my experience. Like, it's way choppier than the Switch gyro. So I just use that for like Quake and shit. And it's really fucking good. I love it. And I prefer it over keyboard and mouse. But like, keyboard and mouse probably still more competitive, and you can still probably do better with it. Right? Like, just the fact that it doesn't sort of go out of sync, right? And that you have this like this physical haptic thing, you know, with the desk, that probably makes it more viable. So yeah, but I can see where this take is coming from. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is better than Crash Team Racing in all aspects. Hard disagree. Now, I mean, the general, like, polish and feature set, in that sense, yes, I can kind of get it. Why you think Mario Kart is better. Like, runs at 60 FPS, looks a lot cleaner on the Switch, compared to the Switch version of CTR. Of course, you don't have that problem as much with the other versions of CTR, which is worth mentioning. And like, the online is probably more robust than Mario Kart as well. But the core driving is so much fucking better in CTR. Once you, like, new people who get into it, it seems extremely complicated and very unintuitive, I guess, compared to Mario Kart. Unless you know what's going on, you're not really gonna really see the magic of the game. But like, god damn it, the driving mechanics and the drifting mechanics are so deep, and there's so much going on, and like, it's so easy to learn, hard to master. It's just really fucking good. Like, the fact that every single drift kind of turns into a little risk-reward challenge, and that every part of the track becomes a question like, can I drift here? Can I boost here? Can I do this? And the shortcuts are so interesting and so well done. Like, there are barely any shortcuts in Mario Kart, and the drifting in Mario Kart is so easy that, like, it really is just used for corners, you know, to get around those. In general, like, you can't do anything that the designers didn't specifically want you to do, which for a game focused on items and stuff and like just interactions between the drivers, that's fine, you know. I think Mario Kart is well designed for what it is. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe specifically, I think 8 is a great Mario Kart game. I like it a lot, but CTR is just fucking Galaxy Brain. I'm sorry, it's It's the Devil May Cry to Mario Karts. Like, fucking, I don't know. What is Mario Kart? See, I don't want to be mean. I don't want to say, oh, it's like the DMC reboot or something like that. You get the point. Mario Brothers 3 is superior to Super Mario Land. Is this a hot take? I don't think this is a hot take at all. This is like the coldest take of all time. I don't think anyone like thinks the opposite, right? Like, if anything, most people think Mario Land kind of sucks, and that it's very basic and simple and dumb. I think it's cute and charming, but like Mario 3 is just a masterpiece, you know? So yeah, I wonder where this take is coming from. Yeah. And that's a wrap on the second episode of Let's Argue. Hope you enjoyed. Consider checking out patreon.com/WonderMagenta for cool bonus videos, for my shopping list of stuff that I want to buy with your donations, equipment, games, my plans for like future videos, retrospectives that I want to do. It helps me out a lot if you pledge, if you donate, and I love you. Wonder Magenta, let's argue, argue forever.